Beautiful. Today, we are so lucky for Civic Tech Hacknight number 504 to have Khasir, who is an organizer with Technologists for Democracy. He's also a machine learning engineer, a local activist based in Toronto, and a regular here at Civic Tech Hacknights. Please give a warm welcome to Khasir.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Khasir. I'm here with an organization called Technologists for Democracy. We started recently. We've started in the past few months, just sort of getting our feet wet here. And yeah, let's get into it. So the person on the right there, you might recognize as one of the participants in this meeting. Her name's JJ, and she first alerted us to this company called Magna. And what Magna is, they're an international manufacturer of automotive parts, and they're running a pilot here in Toronto. And the pilot is for a self-driving vehicle to deliver food. The interesting thing about this pilot is that in addition to delivering food, they're also recording the faces of everyone that it drives by. And so JJ alerted us to this, and it was being discussed at one of the city council committee meetings back in June. And she was like, hey, do you want to speak on this? Because there are major privacy concerns with this. And so I'll get to this, but me, Ilya, JJ, and Akil, we all deputed at Toronto City Hall about this item. Basically bringing up the privacy concerns, also the issues around wage fairness, because companies like this also tend to sort of, their goals are to automate the humanity out of jobs, right? And so they're trying to automate food delivery, and a lot of gig workers aren't even paid fair wages. They're earning like $6 an hour on average, and so it's very unfair to those people. And so what we did was we went to City Hall, and the four of us spoke about our experiences and the privacy concerns that we have with this, as well as the governance issues with this. So important context is that this pilot had already started at the end of May, and the city was discussing this in June because the pilot had been pushed forward by the province without the city's permission, of course. It's being pushed forward by the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario. And so it also raises questions of cities being creatures of the province. So this is another example of like the city doesn't really have a say. And even though it's happening on city streets within the city itself, the Ontario government has stepped in to say, you know what, we like innovation. We don't mind that people's faces are being recorded. We're going to let you operate in the hopes that you will become, a world leader in autonomous vehicle systems. So we spoke on these issues, and city councilors were pretty receptive because, for one, they don't really have a say. And then there's also the privacy concerns. There's also the concerns around traffic management, because these vehicles are moving slowly. They're moving like 40 kilometers an hour. They have a chase vehicle to make sure that they're not running over anyone. And so if you can imagine like hundreds or even thousands of these vehicles roaming the streets, suddenly you also have a different kind of problem, and not just the privacy concerns, although those scale up as well. We were also interviewed by Global News after our deputation. There's Ilya, there's JJ, and we weren't expecting it. We were just talking about the privacy concerns that were being raised. And so, yeah, we got on Global News sort of the day after this started. And so what we've done so far is we've started a website. That's the website right there. And basically getting the ball rolling for not just this campaign, but other campaigns in the future, but because there's always going to be concerns where tech companies or even governments are going to be imposing things on the people that are not necessarily good for us. So there we are in global news. And we also have been interviewed by a local newsletter, the Junction Spin. So this was about algorithmic pricing. So if you've ever used Uber and like you're going home from a concert and everyone's going home at the same time, the prices go up. That's surge pricing. And that's an example of algorithmic pricing. And so we spoke to the Junction Spin about this to sort of raise awareness. And the Competition Bureau of Canada recently asked for comments on algorithmic pricing. And so on Sunday, we submitted a letter to the Competition Bureau with our thoughts. And basically, we went on to say that, you know, algorithmic pricing tends to harm consumers, especially in markets where goods and services are being provided that are essential. For example, housing, for example, medication, right? So there's this, some landlords, for example, are using algorithmic pricing. They're using price optimization to set the best rents to maximize profits at the expense of the renters, right? And so this is like, oh, you know, I don't know, I'm paying $2,000 a month. It could jump to $2,500 because all of a sudden everyone's asking for rentals. And the algorithm determines that, oh, everyone wants rentals, and this is not a rent protected unit. So we're going to surge the price because we can. And so this is, in one word or two words, very bad. Yeah, so more information on the Magna pilot. Tomorrow, we were originally going to be visiting the Magna facility. They invited us to the facility. We sent them a letter with our privacy concerns. And they did not respond to the letter or any of the privacy concerns we had. Instead, they responded with, hey, do you want to come to our facility? And we'll answer questions for you in our facility. So we were in talks to do that. They just provided the NDA they want us to sign today. So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the NDA, postpone the meeting, which was originally slated to happen tomorrow, so we can, you know, figure out strategy and not rush into this. And then the reason why I have a screenshot of Goodbot is we're also collaborating with people from Goodbot to visit the facility and ask questions as well. And there's a picture of the self-driving vehicle. So it's very small, 3 wheels, and it's spying on you. So our goals are to spur positive technological change for social good. We believe in progress defined by improved quality of life for all, right, for everyone. And this includes the public. And we want to provide, you know, a different voice to like, ooh, let's get, like, we got to use AI everywhere. We got to install AI into our work systems. We got to use vibe coding. We got to use it all. And not just sort of get rid of everything, but sort of like, you know, there are use cases for AI, but it's like, we shouldn't be jamming it everywhere, right? So this is a place for people with a conscience. Who we are is we're just a bunch of volunteers that I'm sort of bringing together people from different places. Civic Tech Toronto is one such place. If you want to get involved, all you have to do is either join the volunteer forum on the website, which I will send, which I'll get to, or join the Civic Tech Slack. Find me. My name is Khasir, Khasir. and just sort of say, hi, I want to get involved. We're not incorporated. We're just people with a website, and we're just yeah, we're just trying to coordinate things. So what's up next is one of the things that I think we should be commenting on is the digital services tax. So this was a tax that Mark Carney recently scrapped because Trump was saying, hey, you have this tax that would impose taxes on like tech giants. I don't like that. So if you want to come talk to me for like tariff negotiations, you have to scrap it. So Carney scrapped it and went to negotiate. So what the digital services tax would have done is it would have imposed like a 2.5% tax on the major tech giants. So Google, Amazon, the ones providing like online ad services, as a sort of way to keep some of the economic benefits that these tech giants, which are based in the States, are generating in other countries like Canada, right? Because they operate here, but the revenue goes mostly back to the States. So this is a way of recovering some of that. But unfortunately, it's been scrapped. Canadians for Tax Fairness has published some letters on why we think we should be keeping it. We had a meeting with them a few weeks ago on what we can do about that, and that involves letter writing to major media agencies like the Toronto Star. And they've written extensively on it, and it would be good to have a fresh voice talking about it as well. So that's something we hope to do next. We also hope to help the push to stop Bill C2. So Bill C2 is a sort of omnibus bill that involves a lot of strengthening of border security, police, that sort of thing. And as part of it, it also allows police to request information from electronic service providers without a warrant. So it would basically allow them to gather more information about people with less oversight. And they, as part of this, they also expanded the definition of electronic service providers. So that's a new term. Previously, you might have heard internet service providers, ISPs, which are like the Bells, the Rogers that provides internet access. Electronic service providers are any online services which provide digital communications. So that could be email providers like Google, Yahoo. That could be communication providers like Slack or Microsoft Teams or Zoom. And so this has wider reaching effects than really it should have. What else? So this was something that Tom actually posted in the Slack. I don't know if Tom is here, but it was basically S209, which is an act to restrict young persons' online access to pornographic material. So I don't know if you've heard of what's happening in the UK right now, but the UK has recently implemented a sort of age verification system for people to access a lot of online services. And as part of that, that means providing either your facial information or in some cases, you could be providing your ID just to access, say, for example, this applies to YouTube. I don't think it will because they're limiting it to certain websites, but I don't fully understand it yet. But you could imagine a world where it expanded to websites like YouTube, now requiring you to provide your ID in order to access these kinds of like whatever's on the website, just to prove that you're over 18 and you're allowed to see videos on YouTube, right? And so it gives a lot of these companies personal information, which is not really something they should have access to, right? So maybe creating a campaign like that. as next steps. So this is how you can help. So you can sign up at the website techfordemocracy.ca. There's QR codes as well, or you can check out the Civic Tech Slack. Join the Proj Advocacy TFD channel. And specifically, if you're interested in organizing, if you're interested in just sort of like keeping track of like what we're doing, if you are good with social media, if you are knowledgeable about tech policy, yeah, or again, if you're just interested in finding out what we're doing, feel free to join. And yeah, I believe that is it. Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
Right. Let's hear it again for Khasir.
Oh, right.
Great. Now we're going to take some questions. We'll start with a few in the room and then head to online. If you have questions in the room, please put your hand up. If you have questions online, drop a Q in the chat. And don't worry if we don't get to your question in this session, because here we'll be running a breakout session afterwards where, like for the next hour, where I'm sure there will be much riveting discussion and you can ask more questions. So if you have questions in the room, hands up. Tom? Okay.
Thanks for the talk. I'm wondering, what's the different levels of government's reactions to your ideas and proposals? Are they actively listening, or are they ignoring your emails?
So the question is, what are the reactions from different levels of government to what we've been doing? So the reactions, I'd say from the local level, like city councilors, has been generally positive. They are aware of what Magna is doing. And I think they're interested in putting limits to what Magna is doing. From other levels of government, I've spoken with Jessica Bell. She was interested, but non-committal. And yeah, also like we're a new organization, so we haven't really spread the word much. But I think generally it's been positive. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, I had a question. From your website, I see you're doing two campaigns, the one with the Magna and the one with Bill C2. My question is, what strategies are you employing in like your campaigns? Are you doing like social media? You mentioned you're a technologist, so like, are you using any tech skills in your campaigns? I'm interested in like how you're actually going about campaigning.
Yeah. So I can tell you what we've been doing. We haven't been using social media. That's something that I think we should probably be doing. So far for Magna, it's been speaking to Toronto City Council, gathering allies, sending the letter off to Magna with our privacy concerns, and sort of getting in talks with them to sort of better understand how they operate. And that's still a thing in progress. We're hoping to next, we're assuming that Magna will not be too cooperative in terms of changing their privacy policy. So we're next going to submit complaints to the Ontario Privacy Commissioner and the Federal Privacy Commissioners, and hope that they can take it from there. I would think they're going to be receptive to this because there have been similar cases in the past where they've managed to tell those companies to stop doing what they're doing. Like there was a company that was using video footage in Cadillac Fairview malls to analyze, like record people's faces, and then also do a lot of demographic sort of invasion of privacy practices there. And so they were told to stop doing that. So I think this is sort of in a similar vein, because there's also other companies that are doing self-driving and they're explicitly not recording faces. So
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Let's head online.
Number one, we have Dan, who would like to go in first.
Hi. Yeah, this is just a quick question. What was the bill that you showed at the end for Canada age verification? I didn't catch what the code was, the number.
that is S209.
Okay, thanks.
I believe JJ has a question, but before I give it to the audience, I wanted to say it falls under the Privacy Commissioner's requirements and is covered under the PIPEDA Act that you cannot collect any data without consent. And that too should be for a limited amount of time and not beyond that, just in case. Just clarifying. Now passing, the next question is from JJ, please.
That's super helpful. Yeah, I was kind of impressed when we went to speak at City Council at the committee meeting, how this turned from like a rubber stamp issue very quickly into something that the councilors wanted to engage in. You know, I get the feeling that there's some appetite to figure out what the city could do, kind of within the limits of the City of Toronto Act. Yeah, I'd be curious here or in the breakout session to hear his thoughts on, you know, what ideally would we want our local governments to be able to do when projects like this come to town.
Yeah, great point.
Any like initial thoughts on like where you would want local government's powers to like curb tech to be?
Local government's powers to curb tech. Well, I think Toronto should have more control over what's happening over its own roads. This speaks to sort of the overreach of the province, though legally it's not an overreach, but sort of morally I feel it is. And I think we're sort of diving into Charter Toronto territory here of like Toronto should basically have more independence, more say on what's going on, and that includes tech policy.
I happen to live in the zone where that Magna thing is being tested. I haven't run into it yet, but I was wondering, do you have any practical advice for what people might do if they encounter the thing?
Practical advice. If you encounter it, I would love for a photo of the machine. And practical advice is, you know, maybe what you could do is you could submit a request to Magna, and I can give you the email that they're using. A request to Magna for your personal information to be removed from the self-driving pilot, and see what they do.
Right.
Because I have a feeling they don't have a process for that.
I'm imagining that they don't expect a response like, I decline to be photographed by you and I request that you remove the recording that you're making of me right now.
Yeah, because they're legally required to post that we're recording, which they say they do by they have a QR code on the back of the machine, but it's hard to catch the machine. And to be honest, I'm not too familiar with, because we don't have GDPR, we don't have the right to be forgotten. But like I would be curious to know like what the response would be to, can you please delete me from...
I'm a citizen of a country that actually has the GDPR, so I wonder if I fall under that jurisdiction while I'm here.
Right. Yeah.
Following up on that question, I believe that children have enhanced privacy rights through some law or the other. So if a parent were to request that their child not be part of that record,
Right.
like what is that avenue?
That's a good point. And I think the avenue you take as a parent is really like you can't do much about it as an individual citizen other than send a request to Magna saying I want my child's face not to be recorded. And the process for that, I think, in similar cases, so like Clearview, for example, which was like sort of providing facial recognition technologies to law enforcement, is you provide an image of your likeness or whoever you want deleted. They'll do a search on that, delete it from their database, and then hopefully delete the image you provided. But I assume they've never done it, so they probably wouldn't know that. They'd have to figure it out.
Thank you so much for your presentation. If you were looking for a unicorn volunteer to parachute in and help the organization right now, what would that unicorn volunteer be? And how would they be able to help you the most?
So unicorn organizer, I guess like someone who has organizing experience, maybe someone who's run nonprofits before, maybe someone who's done a lot of activism, someone who knows a lot about tech policy. I don't know if this person exists in Canada. I would like to get in contact with Michael Geist. He's a law professor at the University of Ottawa. I sent him an email, but he hasn't, he probably didn't see it. But he specializes in tech privacy and regulation. So I'd love to pick his brain. Yeah.
So I have 2 points. One is, can you share the NDA that they sent you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't think there was a clause.
Okay. So yeah, because I think it's also a way of letting the world know that that's the way they respond to a request. The second thing is when you told that they should record or take a photo of that, can we start taking a photo and starting a trend like hashtag stop recording Toronto or something like that? And then, if enough people do it, that would probably make them stop doing it, right? So
I think it's a great idea. And if you join the breakout tonight, we can talk about it.
So obviously we don't want them to record at all if that were possible, or even just not do this pilot or an eventual, final product, whatever that looks like. But precluding that, what sort of guarantee do we have that, as they say on their website, they're not selling this information? Do we know that that was one of the conditions of them being allowed to do the pilot? Are there laws that prevent them from being able to sell this information in the future? How much can we trust them? Probably not at all, but just curious to get your take on that.
Okay. So I'll preface this with, I'm not a lawyer. So how do we know that they're not selling the information? We just have to trust what they're telling us. We just have to trust them. Really, that's all you can do. I don't think there's regulation preventing companies from selling private information. I'm not sure about that actually. So don't quote me on that. But yeah, so one of the collaborators is Goodbot. I put a screenshot of their website. And one of the things that they call for is more transparency in terms of business models of corporations. And that includes what is the plan to do with private information, private data. Like you say you're not going to sell it, but like, can we say, for example, have regulation that is like, this is our plan for private data. We plan to sell it to advertisers, for example, or we don't plan to sell it to advertisers. And this is sort of like a public legally binding document kind of thing. Yeah, I don't think it's entirely illegal. There are companies that have sold private information before. Yeah.
Thank you for the questions, and let's give one last round of applause to Khasir.